Hey, Aries rising, it's Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here for the October and November forecast for you based on your rising sign. And you can also look at it through your sun or moon sign. I just find the rising sign to be more accurate. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by looking back. Since today is Friday, October 27th, the eclipse is tomorrow, October 28th. I am going to go ahead and tie in a little bit of past to this so that you can look at that. We have this and this to share. All right. So I've got October up here, and I've also got the houses, and I'm going to be circling them for you so that you know where it's coming for you. Okay. So let's start with, let me get my circle out here. The October 14th solar eclipse in Libra. For you, this is all, especially Libra, is cooperation and relationships and agreements. Okay. So it's the seventh house, relationships that can be romantic, business, whatever. And it was a South Node solar eclipse. Okay. It could also be friendships. South Node is separation. So we're separating. And I don't necessarily think this means all of our relationships are going to separate. We're going to, no, it's about a way of doing things, especially since when the solar eclipse happened, Venus was in Virgo. It still is, even as of today, October 27th. Venus in Virgo is all about how we do something, how we value our daily lives, routine. It's about pruning and cutting back what we don't need. Venus in Virgo for you is your sixth house of health and daily life. Okay. So this South Node solar eclipse in your seventh house of relationships is also looking at how you go about your daily life. And it could be maybe relationships that don't work for you in your daily life, or it could be work relationships. You have to go to work every day. It could be your relationship with a habit or with rituals or with routine. Okay. So that's where the solar eclipse was for you. And you are separating from something there or redoing it. And a lot of times it can also be reconnecting. It's not always about moving away. Sometimes it's a reminder, and you get to go, is this something I want to invite back into my life? Okay. So yeah, it could have work implications. It could have friendship, clientele, romantic, daily life, all those implications. So the next thing that happened that is still going on is Mars and Scorpio. And again, we are here today at October 27th, and you can see Mars and Mercury oppose Jupiter. And this is going to bring in some themes from the eclipse as well, because it's still going to be going on during the lunar eclipse on October 28th, tomorrow, Saturday. So what we've got is Mars and Mercury in your eighth house. Mars can be action, passion. It can also be frustration and inflammation. Mercury is how you think and how you talk. Now, Mercury and Mars are in your eighth house: empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, contracts. You could also say other people's money, investments, inheritance. There's lots of eighth house implications for that. So, I mean, ultimately, when you look at it, why would contract, sexuality, empowerment fit together? Why would other people's money fit with that? It's because it's about how you share yourself with others, is the eighth house. Fears also are a part of the eighth house. So boundaries come to mind, what you are willing to face. It's the deep part of you. The eighth house is known as a dark house. It's where the sun begins to move lower in the sky during the day. That's the eighth house. These houses actually refer to places in the sky. Okay. So that's where Mars and Mercury are for you. And they're opposing, opposite Jupiter today, October 27th. And your second house of self-sufficiency, money, values, security, assets, you could say comfort. Jupiter's there, and Jupiter's very abundant. It's expansion. But when you get the opposition, you get this tension. Obviously, it's like, I've heard it described as they're sitting across the table from one another. Sometimes it's a tug of war. I'd argue with Mars and Mercury, it's more of a tug of war. And it can be really big. Events are very big. Blowups are very big. People run their mouths during Mercury opposition to Jupiter. So this is in your financial sector. Okay. So you're having a lot of change and expansion and abundance coming into your second house of money. And then Mars and Mercury are kind of stirring the waters in how you share that with others, or how others share it with you, or contracts or investments. So you can say maybe like this is a situation in which you see the interest rate you got was not really great, and you're having to spend a little extra money, or you want to save extra money but you have to pay this debt. Things like that can come up. And then similarly, the lunar eclipse is in Taurus in this second house of money, assets, self-sufficiency, values, and security. Okay. So the sun, Mars, and Mercury are all here in your eighth house of contracts and how you share yourself with others, how others share with you, other people's money. The sun is actually not reflecting its light. It's reflecting its light onto the full moon. That's generally how it goes. But because it's an eclipse, it's blotted out, right? So this is almost a look at what you've been through as the eclipses were transiting your second house. Now, here's the interesting part. It's a hybrid eclipse. Two areas are highlighted. The north node, which is the actual eclipse point, it looks like a horseshoe on a chart, is actually in Aries. So it's moved from Taurus to Aries. They move backwards through the zodiac. Fun fact. Okay, so that's why Aries is your first house of self, identity, instincts. And that's why it's also related to relationships, because the solar eclipse was in your seventh house. So this opposition here is what we're looking at. The seventh and eighth house, the first and second house. Okay. So this lunar eclipse, yes, it's money, but it's also, now that I've done all this work in my values, my comfort, my self-sufficiency, still doing some work, Jupiter's there. How does that affect my identity, my independence, my instincts, my self, right? And then how does that juxtapose with my relationships and how people give to me, or how I share myself with others, my boundaries? That is what the lunar eclipse is about for you. Yay. Okay, so that's October 28th, October 30th, 31st, and 1st. We're dealing with some things, okay? So let's go ahead and erase all this, because now that we're moving on, we're here October 30th and 31st, even November 1st, and I'll share November's calendar here in a second. We've got Venus in Virgo. Now that's your sixth house of work, service, health, habits, and healing, okay? Venus in Virgo is bringing balance there, bringing our value system to that area. So maybe feeling the love. Venus, hey cat, what do you want? The cat's trying to get in touch with me. It's funny, the sixth house is pets also. And my pet just visited. This is a Venus and Virgo thing, right? Venus is bringing good things. Venus is gifts. It's a benefic planet to your area of work, service, habits, health, and healing. Okay, so that's good. It's trine, which means supported by or supportive of, you could say that too, Uranus in your second house of money. So you see how work and money are naturally trine in a chart for everyone. The sixth house is trine the second house. Now, not everyone has Virgo on the sixth house and Taurus on the second house, but for you, that's what's going on. So that's going to go well, and maybe a change. Okay, let's talk about what Uranus is. Uranus is change, upheaval, unexpected events, and it's in your second house of finances and values. So your values could be undergoing a change. Your financial situation can be undergoing a change. And then Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in your sixth house of work, routine, health, service, and habits. So those two areas are working together to change, to have something fresh come in. Okay. Now let me go ahead and bring in new share. My cat is meowing. It is hilarious. Where is that? No, I'm looking for my other calendar. Did I close it? We're going to have to wait a second. You guys just go ahead and get this calendar down while I work on pulling up the second one. Here we go. New share. Got it. All right. Shift. Yay. Let's see if I got it. All right. Let me move it over here. Haha. Okay. Excuse my having to work around some stuff. All right. So now what we have is the sun opposite Jupiter on November 1st. Okay. So Jupiter, second house of money. So you see how money is a theme for this end of October, beginning of November for you. It's opposed by the sun in your eighth house. These are the same things as these eclipses. So it's carrying that eclipse energy forward. The sun opposite Jupiter, okay? And this eclipse was very close to Jupiter. The moon's at 5 degrees. Jupiter's at 11 during the eclipse on October 28th. So November 1st, we've got the sun opposite Jupiter. I have spicy here because the sun is purpose. It's our powerhouse, right, of the zodiac in the area of shared resources, sexuality, contracts. Now, the other thing Scorpio and the eighth house can represent is obsession because they're fixed signs. So this is a very stubborn kind of spicy moment. Okay. Everyone's going to be really extra around this time. For you, it's in the financial and boundaries empowerment axis. Okay. All right. Now let's look at Mercury opposite Uranus. Same thing, same areas. This is November 4th. Okay. November 4th, same areas. It's just continuing throughout the week. However, this is involving Uranus, which is change, upheaval, freedom. Mercury, the way we think about empowerment, about shared resources, about sexuality, about contracts, is opposed by Uranus, a change in values, right? So we're having to really put a lot of mental energy into, is this right for me? What needs to change, especially in my financial axis around that time? The day before, November 3rd, Venus opposes Neptune. And I skipped because this whole week has this opposition to eighth house, second house for you. But when it comes to Venus opposite Neptune, we bring back in your work, daily life, health, and habits. And this time, this opposition is with Neptune in your 12th house of retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, and release. Dreams is also a 12th. So this can be a little confusion or need to take a break. You need to take a break and also have Mercury in your financial area, right? So it's almost as if we go, I don't care what the contract says, I'm not coming to work today, I need a break. Can be something like that. Okay. And that's just an example. I'm not encouraging you all to lay out of work on Friday. But maybe the break that you get is really needed November 4th, Saturday. So the other thing about Saturday, why won't it let me move this? I'm trying to move it just a little. Oh, well, I think you can see it good enough. The other thing about Saturday is that Saturn goes direct November 4th. Saturn is in your 12th house of retreat reflection. It's very spiritual for you. It's in Pisces, which is already spiritual. It's really encouraging intuition, dreams, honoring your need for time to reflect. That's the 12th house. And it can be disillusionment. And, the 12th house is sometimes pretty heavy. It's like existentially heavy. So that's what you're working on. So I would encourage a lot of whatever brings you to a centered place during this time. Okay. Especially with Saturn going direct. And maybe Saturn direct's a little easier. It's easier to get a hold of. November 5th, the moon's in Leo at the third quarter square. Okay. So right now, at this moment, we're going to have the eclipse in your eighth house, Scorpio, second house, Taurus, which is the financial empowerment, comfort, and security axis for you. Okay. The moon's going to move on to your fifth house of creativity. And what's going to happen is it's going to square the eighth house, Sun and Mars. Okay. So you've got the moon in Leo, and it's creativity, courage, purpose, and it's square to contracts, shared resource, and empowerment. It's the third quarter square. It's kind of the closing of the eclipse. It's a moment where we have to integrate all of these things into, is this right for me and my heart? Children, romance, courage, creativity all come up at this time, and it can be a little triggering, I would say. So, is your inner child okay with what's going on? Is this good for your children? Is this good for your fortune? Things like that. And, it's a brief transit, but the moon in Leo will square all of these things: the sun, Mercury, Mars. It'll square Uranus and Jupiter in your second house of finances. So it's encouraging you to look at that fifth house creative, love, romance, inner child area. All right. So November 6th, Venus trines Pluto and Mercury trines Neptune. All right. So Venus in your sixth house of health, habits, work, daily life. Pluto in your 10th house of career. So this looks like a good one, a very empowering moment for you, November 6th. And then Mercury, trines, by the way, are supportive. So anytime you see trine, think good. Anytime you see square, think a little bit, it can be rough and tense, okay? So this trine is empowering, I think, especially when it comes to work for you. Mercury trine Neptune, well, Mercury is in your 8th house of contracts, shared resources, inheritance, investments. Trine Neptune in your 8th house of retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, and release. So it's a very inner and outer transit where you're I think learning to trust as well, and to trust your own intuition and see where you can empower yourself. But those are good trines. So then we've got November 8th, Venus moves into Libra, okay? Venus in Libra is at home. That's awesome. Balance. It's wonderful. And this is where we come back to the eclipse, current eclipse stuff, which is South Node in your 7th house in Libra, cooperation, relationships, agreements, and yeah, the North Node's in your 1st house of self. But this Venus in Libra transit is bringing balance, but it's eventually going to hit the South Node, which is purging. Okay, so that's November 29th. Just keep that in mind, because you can be thinking as Venus transits Libra, what are the lessons here? What is the eclipse theme here? All right, so then yeah, so relationships kind of get these gifts of Venus and Libra, but there also may be a moment where we realize what is or isn't working at the end of the month. Okay, so then the 10th, here's where things start to change. November 10th, everybody. We become a little, it gets really interesting. That's all there is to it. So we got November 10th, Mercury in Sagittarius. This is your 9th house of higher education, beliefs, new horizons, travel, truth, adventure. Mercury there, okay, Mercury in Sag it's not really the best, because Mercury's home is the opposite sign of Gemini. Mercury's other home is Virgo, which is square to Sag. Mercury in Sag is like, I know everything. I'm not going to quit talking. Foot and mouth syndrome. Ask me how I know. I have Mercury in Sagittarius. Actually, very close to the beginning. It's at 1 degree. So on the 10th, Mercury hits 0 degrees of Sagittarius, right? It immediately squares Saturn. Saturn's in Pisces. So this is what you think you know versus what, maybe your intuition's telling you. Saturn is responsibility. And, so this for you, maybe I have a responsibility to my alone time, my retreat, my reflection, my spirituality, my health. The 12th house can also bring up health, even my mental health, my subconscious. Or it can be just this existential blockage that you're having that is in tension with the desire to learn more, to have, these new horizons, adventure, truth, belief. And so that can feel a little blockage on the 10th and a little heavy. And then the 11th, Mars in your 8th house of contracts and shared resources opposes Uranus in your 2nd house of finances. This is explosive. Mars is fire. Uranus is upheaval. I would definitely mark this down as a day to be careful driving, especially with Mercury square Saturn. Mercury is how we move around. Mars is, this weekend is not a good weekend to like go skydiving or something. Okay, it's probably not a good idea. And I'm sorry to be lame, but that's just the truth. So it's just, I don't know what's going to happen in the world. It's a very explosive transit. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the 13th. This is the new moon in Scorpio. The thing about this is you see how close it is to Mars opposite Uranus. Mars is still pretty close to opposite Uranus. Okay. So the new moon in Scorpio is also opposite Uranus. Woo. New moon and empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, and contracts, opposite changes in values, money, comfort, and security. So my idea is that we've had the lunar eclipse in your 2nd house of finances, October 28th. Then you've had Mars, Mercury, and the sun moving through your 8th house of shared resources and contracts, and trying to decide basically, if you've had a change in your financial situation, how do I share that with others or allow myself to invest, or what contracts are suiting me or not, right? So this new moon is like, okay, I figured it out. We're not going to go forward with contracts in the same way. These people don't honor my worth. Maybe I need to raise my prices. All of this is very, very big for Aries risings. Okay. So yeah, your intentions, where is Mars at the time? Mars is still in Scorpio and Mars rules this new moon. It's opposite Uranus, which is ruled by Venus, and because Venus rules Taurus, Venus is in your seventh house of relationships. So there may be also a relationship theme to this, okay? What you're gonna take or what you're gonna share, maybe make a commitment to someone. All right, let's move on. Mercury sextile Venus. Mercury is in Sag in your ninth house of higher learning. It's in an opportunistic sextile with your seventh house of relationships. Okay. So there is a sense that this is a good time to philosophize with other people, to talk it out. It's supported during this time. The Mars Cazimi, again, eighth house, empowerment, shared resources, sexuality, and contracts. That is the 17th. This is an important moment. The Mars Cazimi happens like once every couple of years, I think, maybe twice. Don't quote me on that. And my brain is mush right now. So Mars Cazimi is when Mars and the sun come together. It's doing it in its home sign. This is a very powerful moment, which is why I have a wizard up here on the calendar. So this is November 17th, the Mars Cazimi in progress, giving you this idea, maybe, about what to invest in or how do you need to empower yourself. It's in your eighth house, right? So this is also really passionate. It can be a moment when you really uncover some things about yourself as well, about your own ego, about the things you may stuff down, or trauma. It could bring all of that up. It could bring up a moment of investment. It's really powerful occult wise, especially in your eighth house. So yeah, there you go. And when I say the occult, I mean things that are hidden in the dark. That's what occult means. Okay, so the 20th, a brief moon in Aquarius square Mars. The Aquarius is your 11th house of friends, networks, and long-term aspirations. And that's going to square the eighth house of shared resources, sexuality, and contracts. So that tension is between your goals, maybe, and the investment or the contract you have to sign to get there, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The 22nd, we've got the sun moving into Sagittarius. So this is very much like the 10th. It's going to kind of have a reverberation from November 10th, November 22nd, sun in Sag. This is your ninth house. It's ruled by Jupiter, by the way, which will be in your second house of money. So even this is like the philosophy around your values, because it's looking to Jupiter for, what's going on. Hey, the sun is in Jupiter's home. So it may be in this area of adventure, higher learning, beliefs, new horizons, travel, and truth. But then it kind of also has this theme of money behind it, right? So this sun transit is square Saturn in your 12th house of retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, release. Interestingly, Saturn's ruled by Jupiter in your second house, right? So now we have two things that are ruled by Jupiter. Intention, what you think travel, higher education and learning, versus retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, and release. And it may be all focused on things like money. Okay. So the crux of this problem can be about money, self-sufficiency and security, self-worth as well. So it's almost like, okay, the sun's ready to go in the ninth house, ready to spend the money on the retreat, but maybe Saturn steps in and is like, no, I think you need some alone time and you can't go on the trip. That's the form of the blockage that Saturn can bring up. So it's just something to know. And then we have the same thing as Mars moves into Sagittarius. So that theme is going to continue through November 24th as well. The need to discern between intuition and knowledge and which one wins. We could even follow the rabbit down the hole because Jupiter's in Taurus, and that's ruled by Venus in your seventh house of relationships, so that may also come up. Whoo, that's a lot. That's a convoluted mess right there. Okay. Last but not least, we've got the full moon in Gemini. This is November 27th, and it's square Saturn. It's a little bit past the square to Saturn. So hopefully what this is like, hey, that was rough, wasn't it? So this is your ninth house of learning. The full moon's in your third house of communication, also learning, siblings, community, local community. So maybe all it takes is some communication to get through this. Keep in mind, Mercury's back here in your ninth house of philosophy, travel, truth, and belief. So the communication and the philosophies and the meaning come up. I think it's funny this full moon's building through Thanksgiving, so there may be a blockage over Thanksgiving where it's really fiery and you want to spout your beliefs to someone. That may result in the full moon in your third house of communication. Like you need to listen a little bit, okay? But don't forsake what you know and what your values are. But this may change your mind on something. Very well possible. Square Saturn in your 12th house of retreat, reflection, and dreams. So it's a little bit of a foggy full moon. All right, last but not least, Venus conjoins the South Node. I mentioned this earlier in your 7th house of relationships. And through all of this, it may just bring up a moment where you're like, you know what? This ain't working. We're going to do this differently in this relationship or not have this relationship, etc. Okay, that's it for October and November. I'll be back for December and a preview of January at some point. Just a little personal note, Saturn is actually square to my Mercury, and it has been very hard for me. And that's why I bring up, the Saturn squares to Mercury November 10th. These Saturn squares are no joke, man. I've not been able to think, communicate. I feel like I can't focus. Luckily today I'm working on it. So thank you guys for bearing with me on the delay for getting these rising sign videos up. I hope you have a good one. Bless you through November. Happy holidays. I'll see you before Christmas, though. All right, talk to you soon.